They didn't just betray me. They rewrote my entire existence. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 29 years old. And 3 years ago, I was sentenced to 25 years in prison for a murder I didn't commit. The worst part isn't the prison. It isn't the sentence. It isn't even the fact that my life was taken from me. The worst part is that the people who destroyed me were the only ones I ever trusted. I used to believe in simple things: hard work, loyalty, love. I thought if you gave everything to something, it would give something back. I was wrong, completely wrong. It started in a apartment in Chicago, cracked walls, old furniture, a second-hand laptop that overheated every 2 hours. That's where I built everything. Not because I had a choice, but because I had nothing else. Most people don't understand what it means to build something from nothing. It's not just work, it's obsession. It's sacrificing sleep, comfort, relationships, everything. I remember nights where I didn't eat, days where I didn't speak to anyone, weeks where the only thing I saw was code on a screen. But slowly, things started changing. My cybersecurity software started gaining attention. At first, it was small clients, then bigger ones, then companies that I used to admire were calling me. By the time I was 27, I wasn't struggling anymore. By 28, I was one of the fastest growing names in the industry. That's when Daniel came back into my life. Daniel Reed, college friend, confident, charming, the kind of person people trust instantly, reached out like nothing had changed, like the years between us didn't exist. Always knew you'd make it, he told me. I believed him. That was my first mistake. I brought him into the company, gave him access, gave him power, because in my mind, he wasn't just a partner, he was family. And then there was Olivia. I met her at a business event. She wasn't like the others. She didn't care about money or status, at least. That's what I thought. She listened, understood, stayed, and slowly, she became part of my life, then part of my world, then part of everything. Looking back now, I don't know which betrayal hurts more, his or hers. Everything felt perfect. Too perfect. And that should have been the warning. The night everything ended started like any other. Rain hitting the glass. City lights, reflecting off wet streets. Chicago looked alive. But something felt wrong. I just didn't know it yet. I was standing in my penthouse, holding a glass in my hand, looking at the skyline, thinking I finally did it. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. I ignored it. It rang again, and again. And again. Something inside me shifted, a feeling I couldn't explain. So I answered, "Mr. Carter." The voice was calm. Cold. "Yes, this is Detective Harris." Silence. "We need you to come to the station." I frowned. For what? A pause, long enough to change everything. For the murder of Daniel Reed. Time didn't slow down. It stopped. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a misunderstanding, something that would be cleared up in minutes. I even grabbed my coat calmly, like I was going to fix a small problem. I didn't know. I was walking into the end of my life. The police were waiting downstairs. Lights, flashing. Doors, opening. Hands on my arms. Tight. Control. Double quotes. "Sir, you need to come with us." "What's going on?" I asked. No answer. Just silence. At the station, everything felt different. The air was colder. Heavier. Like the truth already knew didn't belong there. They sat me down, turned on a screen, and that's when I saw it. Security footage. Me. Walking into Daniel's office late at night. Timestamped. Clear. Undeniable. That's not. I started, but they didn't stop. Audio recording. My voice. Arguing. Angry. Words I barely remember. Then documents. Financial disputes. Contracts. Tension. Motive. Everything was there. To perfect. To clean. "This doesn't make sense," I said. But deep down, something felt wrong. Not confusing, not random. Planned. Then they brought her in. Olivia. She didn't look at me, not once. "Olivia," I said quietly. "Nothing. She claims you threatened Daniel earlier that day," the detective said. I shook my head. "This is insane." Then she spoke. Soft. Broken. "I'm sorry." A pause. "But it's true." That moment didn't feel real. It didn't hurt. It didn't break me. It erased me. The trial wasn't a fight. It was a performance. Every piece of evidence placed perfectly. Every word controlled. Every reaction expected. I wasn't defending myself. I was watching a story unfold, one where I was already guilty. The jury didn't hesitate, they didn't need to guilty. 25 years, just like that. Everything I built, everything I loved, everything I was gone as they dragged me away. I looked back, thought Olivia was crying, or pretending to, couldn't tell anymore. And then I saw something else. Daniel's brother, standing in the back, watching, smiling, that single quotes. When it hit me, this wasn't random, this was planned. PRSON, the first night in prison, I didn't sleep, not because I couldn't, but because I refused to. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The call, the evidence, her voice, I'm sorry. That sentence echoed in my mind, over and over again. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Prison doesn't break you all at once, it chips away at you, slowly, carefully, until there's nothing left. The first year, I survived, barely. The second year, I started watching, listening, understanding, because something wasn't right. This wasn't chaos, this wasn't luck, this was strategy. And slowly, piece by piece, I started seeing the truth. I wasn't just betrayed, I was removed. The beginning of something. 3 years into my sentence, everything changed. A letter arrived, no name, no return address, inside, just one line. If you want your life back, stop trusting the system. And a name, Marcus Vale. That was the moment my story truly began. The name didn't mean anything to me at first. Marcus Vale, just 2 words written on a piece of paper. But in prison, names have weight. And this one, it carried silence. The first time I asked about him, the man I was talking to simply walked away. No reaction, no explanation, just gone. That's when I understood something. Some people are feared, some people are respected, and then there are people no one even dares to mention. Marcus Vale was one of them. It took me weeks to get close to him. Prison isn't about strength, it's about patience, observation, understanding how the system breathes. I watched the guards, their routines, their habits, their weaknesses. I watched the inmates, who controlled what, who talked to who avoided who. And slowly, I found a pattern. 1 guard, different from the others. 2, calm, 2, aware. 3 weeks later, he stopped outside my cell. Just for a second, barely noticeable, but I saw it. That was the signal. That night, they didn't take me to a meeting room, they didn't take me to another block. They took me somewhere deeper, a part of the prison that didn't officially exist. No cameras, no records, no witnesses, just a cold concrete room. And a man sitting in the center like he owned it. Marcus Vale. He didn't look dangerous, that was the first thing I noticed. Clean posture, calm breathing, sharp eyes. The kind of man who doesn't need to prove anything, because he already knows he's in control. You're late, he said. I frowned. You sent the letter. He looked up slowly. And you took too long to understand it. I stepped closer. You know why I'm here? He smiled faintly. Yes. A pause. You want revenge. I didn't deny it, because there was no point. But then he said something I didn't expect, and that's why you'll fail. My fists tightened. Didn't do anything wrong. He leaned forward, slightly. That's exactly why you lost. Silence filled the room. You were playing fair, he continued, in a game designed for liars. That sentence changed everything. They didn't beat you, he said calmly. They replaced you. I felt my chest tighten. They studied you, predicted your moves, controlled the narrative, and when the time came, they erased you. Every word felt like truth I didn't want to accept, because deep down, I already knew it. So what do? I asked. For the first time, my voice wasn't angry, it was focused. Marcus stood up slowly. Now, he said, you learned the real game. The training didn't start the next day, or the day after. Marcus made me wait. Days turned into weeks. Until one night, he spoke again. Sit. And just like that, it began. He didn't teach me how to fight. He taught me how power works. How money moves without being seen. How rich people don't use banks, they use systems. How identities can disappear, and new ones can be created. How influence is more powerful than force. The world isn't controlled by laws, he said. It's controlled by leverage. The hardest part wasn't learning. It was UNLERNING. Trust. Emotion. Reaction. Feelings make you predictable, Marcus said. And predictable people, he paused, are easy to destroy. At first, I resisted. I held on to who I was, but slowly, piece by piece, that version of me disappeared. I stopped reacting. Stopped questioning, stopped feeling. Time didn't matter anymore. Only one thing did: becoming something they could never control again. Months passed, then years, and somewhere along the way, Ethan Carter died, not physically, but mentally. That naive man, the one who trusted people, the one who believed in loyalty, he didn't exist anymore. What remained was something else, something colder, something patient, something dangerous. The day everything changed. One night, Marcus looked at me and said, "You're ready." I didn't ask how, I didn't ask why. That's how I knew I had changed. For what? I said. To leave. The word echoed in my mind. You mean legally? He smiled. There's nothing legal about power. The ESCAP. There was no chaos, no alarms. No running. Just precision. A medical report filed under the wrong name. A transfer approved too quickly. A guard who didn't look too closely. A system manipulated perfectly, step by step. Everything aligned. Until one day, I walked out. The night I became a JHOSTIT was raining. The same kind of rain as the night I was arrested. I stepped outside the prison gates. No one stopped me, no one noticed, because according to the system, I was still inside. That was the moment Ethan Carter officially disappeared. A new ID in tight. While within 48 hours, everything changed. New name. New documents. New accounts. A completely new life. Marcus didn't just help me escape, he erased me. Completely. I looked at him once and asked, "Who are you?" He smiled slightly. "A man who learned the rules," he said, "and then broke them." Returning to CHICAG Otha. First thing I did wasn't revenge. It was observation. I went back to Chicago, not as myself, as a stranger. The life they stole. He stood across the street, looking at my company, except it wasn't mine anymore. Their names were on it. Daniel, Reed. Olivia Hayes, running everything I built, living the life they stole. But this time, I didn't feel anger. I felt something else. Clarity, because now I understood the game. The first move revenge isn't loud. It doesn't start with destruction. It starts with doubt, confusion, fear. So I made my first move. Small. Invisible. A single leak. Anonymous. Just enough to make them uncomfortable. They ignored it, laughed it off, thought it was nothing. That was the point. Because they had no idea that the man they buried was already back. Watching. Waiting. Planning. And this time, I wasn't here to survive. I was here to take everything back. The first crack appeared exactly where I expected it to. Touch small. Almost invisible, but powerful enough to start everything. Article went live at 2:17 a.m. A minor financial blog. Nothing big. Nothing viral. Just a quiet headline. Unusual transactions detected in Reed Tech Holdings. No accusations. No proof. Just questions. That's how real damage begins. By morning, Daniel had already seen it. I knew he would. People like him don't sleep peacefully. Not when their entire empire is built on lies. At 9:03 a.m., he called an emergency meeting. I watched it happen. Not inside the room, but through the system I had already built around them. Cameras. Access points. Digital backdoors. Thought they were in control. They weren't. The beginning of Fayart first. They handled it perfectly. Public statements, confident tone, controlled messaging. Olivia spoke to the press. Calm, professional. Convincing. If I didn't know the truth, I might have believed her, but I wasn't watching her words. I was watching her eyes. And for the first time, I saw it. Fear. Just a flicker. Barely noticeable, but it was there. That was all I needed. The second movie. A week later, I made my next move. This time, bigger, confidential documents, hidden accounts. Transactions they thought no one would ever find. Leaked. Carefully. Precisely. Not everything, just enough to make the story grow. And it did. From a small blog, 2 major outlets. From whispers, 2 headlines. Red Tech under investigation, possible financial misconduct, questions around leadership. The pressure started building. And this time, they couldn't ignore it. Olivia breaks. Virus to Daniel was aggressive. Defensive. Trying to control everything. But Olivia was different. she started making mistakes. Small ones at first. Wrong statements. Missed details. Then one night, she stayed late at the office. Alone. That's when I decided it was time. The first direct CO in to see her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Hello. Silence. Then a voice. Mine. You always said you hated lies. She froze. I could hear her breathing change. Who is this? She whispered. A pause. Then I said, did you ever feel guilty? The line went silent. About what you did to me. Her breath stopped. Ethan, I hung up. The psychological WIR from that moment. Everything changed. She stopped sleeping, started looking over her shoulder, jumping at every sound, because now, it wasn't just an investigation, it was personal. Daniel didn't believe her at first. He's dead, he said, but doubt is powerful, and once it enters your mind, it doesn't leave. The final move. I waited. Until everything was ready. Then, I made my last move. Not a leak, not a message, a collapse. Every hidden account exposed. Every illegal deal revealed. Every lie brought into the light. At once. The system couldn't handle it. Investigations opened, assets frozen, partners pulled out. Within days, their empire started falling apart. The FAL. Daniel tried to fight, but for the first time, he wasn't in control. He made mistakes, big ones, public outbursts, desperate moves, and that's when I knew he was finished. Olivia, she disappeared, couldn't handle it. The pressure, the guilt, the fear, everything we built together, everything they stole, was gone. The final Mitenji could have ended it there, but I didn't, because real revenge isn't complete until they understand. So I arranged a meeting. Private. Hidden. Daniel showed up. Broken. Angry. Desperate. Double quotes you. He said when he saw me. Like he'd seen a ghost. You're supposed to be dead. I finished. Silence. Why? He asked. I looked at him calmly. No, I said quietly. Why did you do it? He didn't answer, because there was no answer. Just greed, just betrayal, just weakness. The truth, I didn't destroy you, I said. You destroyed yourselves. I turned to leave, but then I stopped. One more thing, I added. The company. A pause. I own it again. His face went pale, because while they were busy collapsing, I was buying everything. Silently. Piece by piece. Through layers of identities, through systems they never saw. The TWIST. Weeks later, everything was gone. Their power, their money. Their reputation. And me. I didn't return. I didn't reclaim my name. Because Ethan Carter was never meant to come back. Instead, I became something else, something they could never touch again. And Marcus Vale, I finally understood who he was. Not just a man, a system, a shadow. And now, so was I. Final line, viral ending. They thought they buried me, but they forgot one thing. You can't destroy someone who learns how to disappear.